I remember her saying, I'm going to marry this guy. He's so awesome. Like, she was smitten.
Oh my God. Can we just end the story here?
I know.
Can this be the end of the story?
I know.
It's not.
Just to keep that anxiety running high.
That's what we all need.
Bitch. You're a real bitch.
I'm evil. So I turned to true crime podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For lighter fare.
Right. Threesomes are back on the table.
Girl beans.
Girl beans.
Okay.
Can't wait to flick my girl bean later.
Okay.
Catholics need to get a life.
Well, I always forget the theme when we're halfway through your case, and then it always hits me. Then, on the morning of May 20th, disaster struck. And improbably, it actually struck twice.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Keep the sniffles in. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Yeah.
Among
Yeah.
other things.
Also,
Unleash
their phlegm.
My worst phlegm.
And their now 4 or 5 day hangovers.
Oh my God.
How long? Just keep the ball rolling.
Keep the ball rolling.
I don't even remember drinking that much. I
Yeah.
think it was a combination of like alcohol, adrenaline,
Yeah.
Relief.
emotion.
Overwhelm.
For those of you
Overwhelm.
who might be tuning into this episode as your first episode, we are recovering from Amanda's wedding.
I just got fucking married.
Yeah.
I'm
Good.
married.
You're a wife.
I'm a wife. I mailed in I almost said birth certificate. I'm so tired. Our marriage certificate. So it's real. It's legal. There's no going back now.
You can always go back.
I mean, annulment
Right.
seems easy, but
Yeah. Maybe Bill lied about his identity.
Oh my God. What
Told
did
me
he
his
do?
name was Bill and his name is William.
Oh, William.
Got him.
Got him. Fucking got it. Irreconcilable differences. Just kidding. I love him. And yes, I am spending my first week of wedded bliss with a cold, not COVID. I've had 4 negative tests and a lab test. And my mom's staying with us.
Yeah.
So
The perfect addition to any
New
newlywed-
marriage.
Yeah.
Hi,
The
Mom.
mother-in-law.
Honeymoon phase.
I'm sure she's listening both to this recording and to me recording this from the other room.
My case actually kind of aligns with that theme, and we will
Is there
get
a
to
mother?
it.
Is there a mother-in-law?
It's not a mother-in-law, but
Oh, God.
you'll see how it aligns
That's
shortly.
funny. I love that.
Yeah.
I have something that we should add.
Okay.
Because your wedding was basically bean themed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've announced it on the show yet, but
Oh,
we have
yeah.
a special
Okay.
discount code with fucking Bush's baked beans.
Yup.
Bush's beans.
We are bean influencers now.
Bean
We
influenced.
talked about beans so much on the show. They reached out.
They
to
gave us a discount code.
Yes. Yes. So if you need some Bush's baked bean swag, they're not
You do,
paying us
though.
to say this, although they did send us bean swag.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
look at
Our
this bottle.
Beanfluencer boxes.
I run on good vibes and beans.
I love my water bottle. If I wasn't drinking coffee today.
Look at that hole. It goes
It's such a
straight
good
into your
hole.
mouth.
Yeah.
It's so quenching.
It's such a good hole. I love it.
Love a good hole.
I love a
Like
good
a
hole.
good direct hole.
Yeah.
It's a hole big enough that you could literally just put a can of hot baked beans
You
in there
could.
It could
and
be a
suck
soup
them right through.
It's the width of my
canister.
thumb.
Yup.
No nipples for this one.
That's
All I'm
that's
saying.
a 2 centimeter dilation.
Oh, easily. She's crowning.
You're halfway there.
She's crowning.
Anyway, the discount code is WineCrime15. You can get a water bottle. You can get slides. You can get a onesie. You can get a camping blanket.
I ordered
a backpack,
the slides.
A bucket
I ordered
hat.
the slides.
Good.
I need the baseball cap.
I love the baseball cap. It's so comfy.
Look at my beanie.
Cute.
I got
That's
Amanda
cute.
and Bill straight bean gear for their wedding present.
I have the doormat in this house. We eat beans. I have a bean. Well, we got our bean onesies, which are a Beanfluencer exclusive. I don't believe they're on this store. But you can get the bean sweatsuit, like jogger set, which Kenyon also got me. So you can still be beaning. You can be beaning out there.
Be beaning. They got socks. They got shirts. They got hoodies.
They got everything you need.
Got everything.
Everything
They have
you
pet
need.
bandanas, I think.
Yeah.
Also, this just goes to show that you can manifest your dreams. Like
You really
we
can, you
became
guys.
Bush's baked beans.
You can
influencers.
girl boss your way all the way to Beanfluencer.
Bean boss.
Bean
Bean boss.
Girl
Okay.
beans.
Girl beans.
Okay.
Can't wait to flick my girl bean later.
Okay.
You are married.
Oh, yeah, I can make Bill do it.
I was going to say you'll probably flicking your
Flick
girl
your own
bean more
bean.
often now.
It's okay.
Oh.
Honeymoon phase. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have selected the topic of red weddings.
Ba, ba, ba.
Bean weddings.
Hog girl summer continues with the gals pick.
Hell yeah, I'm loving these gals picks. Although, while I'm like thrilled for the opportunities that this episode gives us to debrief on the best day ever, my case is so sad. Like fucking tragic.
Fabulous.
We will get to it. Mine's Mysterioso.
Ooh, muy misterioso.
Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
even out.
Oh, El Nino.
Oh, what's the plan for El Nino?
All right. I don't know, reduce our fossil fuel
Yep,
expenditure.
that'd be great.
Okay, so special thanks to us. We picked it, Red Weddings. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for Red Weddings?
Well, I have a very unique pairing today that is specific to me and only me because this episode is about me. Actually, it's just because I'm sick as a dog. So my pairing today is cough medicine and coffee. And
Cute.
right now I am making a flavor recommendation. I have found the CVS brand Tussin DM in what flavor is it? It's the maximum strength. It's like wild berry, raspberry, blackberry, and menthol. It's actually pretty fucking good.
Okay.
Okay,
Tussin
she
DMs.
tasty.
Slide into your DMs.
Yep. So
Slide into your TMs.
you can get this at any local CVS. It is the CVS brand. And it is a cough suppressant and it's an antihistamine. So it helps with like inflammation and the sniffles and all that. I haven't taken it yet today. So clearly it's not helping me right now. But if you are not addled with disgusting nose filth.
If you didn't hug 300 people this weekend,
I'm actually amazed I didn't get COVID. I'm feeling like very #blessed that the wedding was not a super spreader event. But I just recommend for red weddings, get yourself a fun bottle of sparkling. Okay. If you want to go like really, really buck, get you some fucking real champagne from Champagne.
yeah, get some Veuve, baby.
Get some Veuve or go get the fucking $9 Andre and put a splash of OJ in it. It's all going to taste the same barfing out. Okay?
Especially if it's a mimosa or any kind of blend.
Don't
you do
waste
not
your
need
money.
Nice champagne for
No,
that.
you do
Don't
not.
waste your money. So I would recommend either pop yourself some nice bubbles or crack yourself some Tussin. I'm going to take a sip right now because everything hurts.
I'm
Look at the
having
color on this. It's
dregs
gorgeous.
Of an iced mocha
The legs.
with macadamia milk.
Ooh,
I
yerm.
didn't even know that was an option.
I am a bougie bitch.
It's an option, but it's a rare find at a coffee shop.
Well, oat and soy milk fuck with me, as does regular cow milk.
Oh.
So, and almond milk
Oat
tastes
milk does?
Have
overpowering.
you tried camel milk?
Almond milk to me tastes like water.
Almond milk is...
I'm an oat milk bitch.
I don't like the almond milk.
So macadamia milk is where I've landed, but yeah, it is a rare find. Shout out to Full Stop Coffee Shop from Louisville.
I cashed my supply.
Uh-oh.
Bill,
It's all right.
Send Bill to CVS. Okay, let's move on.
Love it.
I got water in my
Lucy.
bean jug.
What is our background and maybe psych for Red Weddings?
Well, first of all, Amanda, are we going to discuss Crasher at your wedding?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of red weddings.
Yeah, this was the most exciting. I mean, obviously, like seeing you get married and seeing you so beautiful in your dress and your vows and everything was exciting. But
Y'all, this was crazy.
the drama.
Should I just pop it off now?
Pop it off.
Okay, so this person's probably listening, and like, I want you
honestly-
to be shamed.
Yeah, no, whoever did this, like, not cool, fuck
No,
you.
this was next level fucked up.
Yeah.
So frankly, I assumed, because I have feelings of like grandiosity and illusion.
A god complex.
I have a god complex. Delusion. Grandiose delusion. I assumed that there might be some like post-dinner
Crashers.
party crashers. That happens at a lot of weddings. And frankly, I was like, whatever. As long as I don't have to fucking feed you. And it was a cash bar, but after a specific time. So like, I'm not paying for you to be there. I had like accepted that was a possibility.
We also were not secretive about when and
No,
where your
when
wedding
and where it
was going to
was.
be.
I,
This was
like-
not a Jennifer Aniston
No, secret wedding.
paparazzi.
No. But like almost 2 hours before the ceremony, we're there to do pictures and like our team is still setting everything up. My wedding planner is like arranging the memory table and getting the welcome board ready and all this shit. And some woman in like full Renaissance garb. So like misunderstood the assignment. It clearly did not have an invitation, or else this would not have been the look. Saunters up to my wedding planner and has the fucking audacity to tell my wedding planner demand that they're going to have to add another seat. And my wedding planner is like, oh shit, did I miss something? Like, are you not seeing your name on the board? So she's like, great, let me grab, like, what are your details? Let me make sure that we have you in the right spot, blah, blah, blah. She gives some, like, weird, vague name that, like, changed a couple times, and then she settled on Sonia Jacobson.
No, this is what I heard from Bill, that she went up to the wedding planner and she said, I was invited, but I forgot to RSVP. You need to add another place setting. And the wedding planner was like, okay, let me check.
Yeah.
And then Bill came and he was like, so who are you? Like, he's the groom.
Bill, first, the wedding planner messaged me because I was in the cottage just like chilling and was like, do you know this name? And I was like, no, I don't know anybody with that name, Sonia Jacobson. Because she was like, Sonia Jacobson has arrived. And I was like, who the fuck is that? Just a combo of Kenyon's baby's name and my last name, trying to think that would be like the way to prove that they were connected to us in some way, when that
Really
was like
fucked up.
the dumbest choice that you could have possibly made.
Didn't the alleged name change a couple times too? Like it was Sandra.
Yeah, they said
Bill-
like something else and then settled on Sonia Jacobson. And I was like, I really do not know a Sonia Jacobson. So Bill is like kind of interrogating this person, rightfully so. And then their story was like, oh, well, I was a guest of somebody who couldn't come, so I'm taking their place. And Bill's like, okay, so whose guest were you? Like, whose place were you taking? Because we've cross-checked this list
Yeah.
8 million fucking times. Like, if you can mention anyone in this wedding or associated with this wedding that isn't Kenyon or Lucy or me by name, then I'll be able to confirm whether or not you're their guest. And they were just like, congratulations, have a good day. And then turned around and fucking left. And Bill was like, I knew immediately that she was full of shit and just trying to sneak it. But like, who sneaks in to dinner?
The full wedding.
Before the ceremony. We were there taking like friends and family photos.
Yes, you were there so early. This was so batshit. So please never do something like that again.
Not cool.
And I want to speak to you directly as someone who spent a year planning this wedding and agonizing the most over the guest list. You harmed me by doing that, frankly, because I had Bill, but you probably are a listener and care more about me. So we're going to make it about me. I agonize over this fucking guest list forever, and it's a lot of moving parts. And I had a full-blown moment of panic where I thought I had honestly forgotten somebody. And like, I felt fucking awful about it. And I was getting married in an hour. And also dealing with, do I know this person? Who is this person? Also, am I in any danger? Who is this
we didn't
stranger?
want Amanda to get Selena-'d at her own beautiful, gorgeous wedding. It would have put a real damper on our
a third
day.
murder at Glen Sheen.
Right. Like, this was a beyond selfish and shitty move. So next time you want to crash
to people that you know on the internet. Don't do it.
No, or if you're gonna crash, be subtle. Stay the
Be
fuck
better
away.
at it.
Be better at it. Don't involve the bride and groom. We have fucking enough on our plate. It was mortifying. It was fucking mortifying.
And don't demand something from
my
the
fucking wedding
planner.
planner, who she knows more than me, who's supposed to be at that wedding.
And don't try to steal my baby's identity
No.
to do your wedding crashing.
It was so cuckoo
Don't love
bananas.
that. Like, get my baby's name out your mouth.
So, yeah, shame on you. Do not fucking
So
pull
then-
that bullshit ever again.
One more little piece of this. So I
Because
didn't...
it's hilarious.
Because it was some drama. I mean, it was kind of scary in the moment. And then once we spoke to, like, security and felt better, it was okay. But,
There was security.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I like, hauled ass off in my heels trying to, like, find security to be like, this just happened. Don't let people in, blah, blah, blah.
I was just excited that I fixed my contact lens because that's what I was doing that whole time.
I was just happy to be here.
It was inside out, you guys.
Oh, my God.
Who'd have thunk?
Okay, so I never saw this person. All I had to go off of was Bill's description, and he didn't
Renfest.
Well, he didn't use those particular words to me at first. He said that she was wearing like kind of like a quote nerdy outfit, not wedding attire, and heavy boots, like brown boots, is what he told me. So later, after the ceremony at the cocktail hour, we're up on the like terrace of the Glen Sheen. And I'm sipping my little wedding cocktail, whatever. And there's this couple, and there is a woman in like heavy brown boots, and and she's with a man, and he was in
his
a
kilt.
leather kilt.
Those are my neighbors.
Okay, well, hold on. So I just saw them, and then they were standing. They literally like walked up, didn't speak to anyone, and were like standing on the far edge of the terrace. And I was like,
Is that them?
Is that her, those boots?
Well, it's funny that you mistook her as the crasher because Bill also did earlier that day, like before the ceremony, when people were starting to arrive. He got a glimpse of them and was like, God damn it, I can't believe this fucking bitch is back here. And like stormed out of the cottage, grabbing security before he realized like, oh, it's our neighbor. It's all good.
Oh my God.
And I was like, Bill, he came back in and I was like, this is no longer your responsibility.
Yeah.
And do not leave the cottage.
He was trying to protect you.
I know, but it's like, other people are now aware of this situation, and you can't just go barreling at actual guests who happen to wear their kilt and boots.
So
I told you to get the fuck out of here.
Basically, that's what he was saying, and then
fortunately, he realized that he had invited.
Yep. And fortunately, she didn't hear him like yelling at her name is Kate, but yes. Fortunately, she didn't hear him like yelling at her because he's Bill. He was doing like under his breath. But it ended up being a very funny story, that part. But
this is how I handled it because I didn't know about any of that. So they're just like standing on the far end of the terrace, and I was chatting with Bill's friend Allison, who is so lovely, and she could just like she's so personable, she could talk to anybody. So I was like, Allison,
she's amazing.
We're
best friends.
you got to do me this favor. You got to wander up to them and play dumb and find out.
How do you know the couple?
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck they are. And she was like, I am on it. She was like so excited to have a mission. So she goes over and I'm standing there with Allison's husband and we're just like keeping an eye on her so she doesn't like get stabbed or something.
Tim doesn't even go with her to protect her.
And then
we're going to be over here. You guys
she's
go.
gone for like a while.
Yeah, because Peter and Kate are so sweet and they will chat with you forever.
And she's so sweet. So at one point I literally said to Tim, like, do you want to go check on her and save her? And he goes, no, she looks fine. So then she comes back over and she's like, it's okay. They're the neighbors. I actually knew them. I forgot. And I was like, oh.
There were a lot of people there. It could be very confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. It happened. So I'm a celebrity.
There you go. That's how you know.
Yep. But otherwise, the wedding was exquisite. It was
The food
beautiful.
was good. The dancing was fun.
The DJ was phenomenal. The food was delicious.
The cake.
The cake was so fucking good.
The venue.
Oh my God.
The weather.
The weather was 71 degrees with a light breeze.
And sunny. And perfect.
Like butterflies around you during the ceremony.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Get
it was
outta here.
idyllic.
Yeah, it's not even to be believed.
No. So
All right.
get ready for every post I make for the next 10 years to be about my wedding because I'm still getting photos. Video is coming. So Crasher, you never even needed to fucking crash. You should have known that I would have taped the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
You clearly don't know me at all. Anyway, if you do choose to come forward and apologize, I'd love to know who you are so that I don't have to be afraid that you're lurking everywhere I go for the rest of my life.
You're a phantom in the shadows.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Just a reminder that we're real people, just normal people with the same anxieties and fears and stress as any other person.
And now even more anxieties and
boundaries.
fears.
Yeah, and boundaries. And now you've single-handedly made it worse.
Okay.
Great wedding gift. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, my segment is brief to allow for
What
such
just happened.
stories. Yep. And since this is our second episode on weddings and the phrase red wedding is exclusive to a very specific example in pop culture, she's gonna be short. According to Urban Dictionary, the phrase red wedding generally refers to some event being a complete disaster. It can also refer to an immense loss on one side and total triumph of the other, often involving a carefully planned betrayal and brutal bloodletting.
Luck.
This definition is clearly based on the Red Wedding event in Game of Thrones.
So good.
This reference is truly the only thing that comes up when Googling Red Wedding, but it is related to the trope of like luring a group of people into the same space in order to kill them. It's a violation of the sacred hospitality, so it's kind of its own moral transgression. Moral transgression. We do have a theme. For the uninitiated, the Red Wedding happens in Season 3, Episode 9, The Reigns of Castamere of the TV show. And yes, I'll get to the book.
Oh my
Most
God.
people
They made a
have
book out of
seen
that show?
The renovelization of the
I love a
television.
renovelization.
Ish. Kenyon, did you watch Game of Thrones?
I've
No.
seen like random half episodes here
She
and there.
is Cersei,
So it makes
and she
absolutely
didn't
no
watch
sense. Yeah,
it
you
made
are
no
Cersei.
sense. It was just very. I love like historical shit and all,
This
but
is
like
not
The
historical.
dragons is where it loses you.
it's a little too
It's more
much
fantasy.
in the fantasy realm for my taste.
But my God, it's brutal.
I think if you get into it, it is more realistic than it appears on the surface. That's why I like it.
Oh, it's so good.
I actually don't mind the dragons thing. Like that's not, it was just kind of a lot.
Okay. I'll
Fair
give you
enough.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about to explain it to you.
Okay.
Great. In detail.
According to Wiki of Westeros, the Red Wedding was a massacre. First of all, Wiki of Westeros is incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
Jesus. The Red Wedding was a massacre that took place during the War of the Five Kings, arranged by Lord Walder Frey as revenge against Robb Stark, at the time King of
The North.
Winterfell, the North, for breaking the marriage pact between House Stark and House Frey. So, backing up a little for Kenyon's sake, House Frey is nasty. I have a picture of
Narsed.
Walder Frey on the drive for you.
Okay.
Their castle is dark and dirty. All their kids are ratty.
And they're all like incest babies.
They're all incest. Yeah. And
A
Walder
lot of incest in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But this is like rapey incest.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh,
Walder
as
Frey
opposed
is
to the good and okay.
Well, yeah, but
it's
like
not consensual incest,
Okay.
of
Oh,
which there
God.
is that also.
Right.
So
Fun.
Walder Frey is pale and mean. He's got stringy white hair. He like spits when he talks. He's just fucking nasty, rapey, misogynist. He's not good.
Okay.
More
Did you ever watch any
specifically-
of the Harry Potter movies?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, you know the gross, like, sort of janitor guy with the
Yeah.
cat? He plays Walder Frey in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
I'm
He's
looking at
so
the photo.
gross. Oh, okay.
It's what's his name with
Yeah.
Mr. Tibbs.
So more specifically, the Red Wedding happens during the wedding feast of Edmure Tully, Lord of Riverrun, and a total nerd. And somehow he like last and survive until the very end.
Pretty much.
He's just a dork. He just like happens to not be killed over and over. And Rosalind Frey, who is, for the Frey kids, very pretty. She's far less ratty. She's more normal looking. So they get married at the Twins in 299 AC. So the measurement of time in Game of Thrones is similar to like BC AD, as in before Christ and after death. But AC in the books stands for Aegon's Conquest. So that's like the main crux of modernity in the Game of Thrones timeline.
Wow. I did not realize that. Okay.
Oh, it's a whole
It's
thing.
a whole thing. It goes back. It's like to talk about generations, and they basically have their own version of the Bible. And
The books are cray.
Yeah.
Like, the world building in Game of Thrones is fucking bonkers.
Okay.
it's bonkers, but also the more I learn about it, the less creative I think it actually is.
a lot
Yeah.
of it was
it's just one
actually
step
like
removed from like
based-
reality.
Yeah, he
Right,
just kind
on-
of changed some names of things that, like, actually happened and then added dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bride and groom retire to their chambers for their bedding ceremony.
Gross.
And assassins, so like they're in this big food hall, and the walls are like lined with people who they assume are just like guards or just like guys, and everyone's drinking. But it's assassins who are surrounding all the wedding guests. And when Walder Frey gives his signal in his creepy ass way, they just start stabbing and like crossbowing everyone. It's just a bloodbath.
Oh, so creepy pale guy or father
Orders
of
the
the bride.
hit.
Orchestrated the whole thing.
Oh,
His intention was to kill off the heads of the Stark family
He wanted them
as
all
revenge.
dead.
He wanted them all dead. So King, Robb Stark, his pregnant wife, Queen Talisa, and his mother, Catelyn, and also most of his 3,500 soldiers outside, including Robb's direwolf. That was the worst part.
I don't know. Catelyn Stark death was pretty fucking bad.
They cut off the wolf's head.
Okay.
So they're all
And that's
slaughtered.
like a pet, but also a wolf.
It's a pet, but it's also like the main protector. Like all the Stark
It's
kids
like
have
a
their
familiar.
own wolf.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a sibling almost.
Okay.
They're all slaughtered. So in this episode, a bunch of main characters like unexpectedly cut off. Very dramatic. So like I said, the entire head of the Stark family. This episode was a pivotal moment in the series because it pushes the story forward and it gives many characters, such as Arya, their character arc.
Yo, yeah, it does.
It's the impetus of the rest of the series.
Uh-huh.
So it pitted the Starks and their allies against other houses in Westeros by ending the Northern Rebellion. So at the time, House Stark was kind of autonomous. They were like the North. They were their own thing.
Uh-huh.
I love this. It's making me want to rewatch Game of Thrones again. I've watched it 3 times.
It's really
oh my
good.
God.
It's so good.
And then the House Bolton replaced the Starks as the Great House of the North, and the Boltons are even nastier than the
Oh, they're
Freys.
fucked
Michael
up.
Bolton.
Oh, Michael Bolton is so fucked up, you guys.
Ramsay Bolton, really
Ramsay!
he's a fox, but he is the most evil thing.
Is that the one with the little blonde boy?
No.
No.
Ramsay Bolton marries Sansa Stark, and he like tortures her, and he's like an absolute psychopath. But he's kind of cute.
Oh my
I think
God.
it was just the amount of sexual violence
It's a lot of sexual violence.
that wore me down.
That's fair.
I was, at the time when it first came out, I was still working in nonprofits around those issues, and I just couldn't like go from that work to like
A fictionalized version.
right. So I turned to true crime podcasts
Yeah.
for lighter fare.
Right.
I guess that doesn't really make a ton of sense, but whatever. Here we are.
So the Red Wedding plays out differently in the novels, A Song of Ice and Fire, according to ScreenRant.com, because I'm not going to read that shit.
Hell no. It's like 8 billion pages long.
No. In the book, the wedding was a disaster from the start, with descriptions of the food and music being not at all good. Not at all like Amanda's wedding.
I was just going to say, unlike my wedding,
So good. Those raviolis.
were delicious.
The butternut raviolis.
Our tasting was not that good, you guys. I was like prepared for it to be meh.
It was really
It was
good. I
fucking
appreciated
good.
how short, like physically short, the line was. There were just, 6 chafing trays. That's it.
They did it right, man.
Yeah. They were always changing it out. The fingerling potatoes. Blortney asked me why her potato was purple. She thought it was rancid.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
They come in all colors, honey.
Said it's a purple potato. Just eat it. She did not eat it. She put it to the
I
side.
love how she did not trust you.
Nope. Okay, so the food and music in the book was not good because it turns out that all the musicians playing weren't musicians at all.
They were assassins.
They were assassins. So Robb Stark's wife Talisa doesn't exist in the books and is replaced by a character named Jane Westerling, who is not present at the wedding and is spared because she's related to the Lannisters. Another fold in the plot line I don't care about because it's not in the show.
Okay.
While some people are spared, the books actually feature many more deaths of fan favorite characters. Like I said, too many for the TV show, too much for my brain. I don't care. That's where we're leaving
so
it.
confusing. How do these two realities coexist?
I mean, the
book
show
versus
is
the show.
the show is very different, and the books aren't even complete.
Right.
There's like what,
Some
8
of the
of
books
them?
were written after, right?
Correct. And George R.R. Martin allegedly gave the showrunners his loose, this is how I want the series to end. And so as you move on in the show, it will be, if you choose to read the books, if you have a death wish and are an insane person,
If you have a life prison sentence and have nothing better
then
to do.
you may as well read all the fucking books. But yeah, so it'll be like completely different as you move along in the books. But I think George R.R. Martin's going to fucking die before the books are done. So just enjoy the show.
He's made all his money. He has no reason to finish the books.
And that man does not look well.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. Okay, so that's all my shit about Game of Thrones. In other TV, Oxygen had a show called A Wedding and a Murder, which examined
Of course they did.
examined true stories of engagements, weddings, and picture-perfect honeymoons that went from joyous celebrations to untimely deaths. It first premiered on June 3rd, 2018, and it aired its last episode on November 28th, 2019.
Short-lived.
The series had 20 episodes in total. How did they run out of material? So steering away from the red wedding massacre trope, there are many wedding practices in other countries that steer away from white wedding dresses.
This is a relatively new phenomenon.
The white wedding dress
In
thing?
the U.S.
Oh,
interesting.
no, just in the white wedding dress thing started from Queen Victoria, right?
Some Puritan Elizabethan bullshit. I don't know.
Later than that. I really think it was Queen Victoria, and before that it was just you wore your nicest dress.
Honestly, Kenyon
Don't
would know.
I'm deferring to you. You would know.
She would know.
In China, it's believed that red is the color of joy and luck, and brides tend to wear bright red. Also, bright red underwear. All the underwear there was red. Did you notice that?
I didn't, but I love that. That's great.
In Japan, brides wear a white silk wedding kimono lined with red, which symbolizes happiness and a new beginning. It's also very normal to change into an additional gown, costume change.
I did it.
Which could be red. In
Mine
India,
was not red.
No, yours was your white pantsuit was so
So
good,
cute.
so Hillary.
Loved it. I am with her.
In India, a bridal sharara is generally made out of silk, and depending on the region, it can be red or white with a red border or a combination of yellow, green, and white. So they're like regionally color-coded.
Cool.
During the Revolutionary War, some American brides wore red to symbolize the independence that the colonists desired.
Wow.
Wow.
Boring.
Okay, so here are a few weird wedding traditions from other countries. Weird is relative, but also these are...
Interesting.
I'll go with interesting. In Scotland and Northern Ireland, there's a tradition called blackening the bride.
I don't think I like that.
It's better than you think. It's okay.
It's, I mean, better. I would use the word
less
better.
problematic and more gross than you're thinking.
So this wedding tradition involves the friends and family of the bride and or sometimes the groom tying her up and covering her in every gross and preferably adhesive thing that they can find, such as fish, tripe, pig's blood, feathers, or food.
This sounds
Just
awful.
gunky shit.
Flour, mud.
After doing
Why?
this, they parade her around, but in modern times, that just means they take her out for a night with her friends.
I didn't know. I mean, I feel like nowadays it's like usually both. It's usually the couple, not just, the bride.
The belief is one justifications. The belief is if she can handle this, she can handle any other sort of humiliation during her marriage.
Oh,
Great.
my
Marriage
God.
is suffering and endurance.
Yeah, the
But-
thing I'm looking most forward to is the humiliation of marriage. Jesus.
But this ritual probably stemmed from a pre-wedding washing ceremony. But like, as we kind of moved out of like muddy fields where our legs and feet didn't get quite so dirty, we were like, well, we have to get them dirty before we can wash them. And then it just kind of snowballed into this fucking nightmare.
Pranks.
I
It's
hate
jokes.
it.
There's
It's
photos,
jokes.
which will be on the blog if you want to
It's
look.
become like a...
It's hazing.
It's
It's
pre-wedding hazing. And then you go out for like a fun
Bachelorette.
Yeah.
But
Should
you're
have done
not-
this in Vegas. Just cover me in fish, just dead fish. Take me to fucking.
We should have done it to you with no warning and
Take
no
me to fucking
cultural
Guy
context.
Fieri's restaurant.
you're
We're
just-
blackening you.
What? Jesus Christ. What?
Oh my god.
That
We're just
would
going to
have
tie
been
you up.
Extremely traumatic
Tie
and
up
fun.
throw trash at you.
Oh my god.
It's fun.
Welcome to Guy Fieri's trash can nachos blackening ceremony.
It's tradition. Guy Fieri, get some purse hooks on your high top tables.
Yes.
Thank you.
honestly, yeah.
Purse hooks.
Guy Fieri was the reason I got a purse hook on Amazon.
Mhm.
And also, if you have like a high top table, if you have those chairs, if you don't have purse hooks, which why fucking wouldn't you,
right.
then you can't have sloped or
No.
oddly shaped backed chairs.
The rounded back. No.
What are we supposed to do with our purses?
Yeah.
It's very anti-purse in that restaurant.
It's anti-woman.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Guy Fieri.
Anti-femme.
Anti-femme.
Yeah. Okay, I liked this one. In Fiji, the groom must present his future father-in-law with a sperm whale's tooth known as a tabua. Which, look, I want to fucking
How cool.
How big would that be?
Don't know.
Don't whales have baleen, though?
But I don't think all whales have baleen.
I'll Google it. Most families with boys keep this tooth in the family for when the time comes for their son to propose to their future wife.
Oh,
So it's like a
that's
traditional thing.
sweet.
Also,
Hand
like,
them
how
down the
often do you
tooth.
find a sperm whale tooth? I'm going to Google what a sperm whale tooth looks like.
Okay.
Sperm
I like
whale
that.
tooth. Oh, cool.
Oh, that tooth is really cool.
Looks like a huge almond.
It does look like a huge nut.
Cool.
And it's
Macadamia.
hollow. I love it.
Gorgeous. That's very cool.
I'm jealous. Okay. Here's my last fun, interesting international fact. In Romania, they have bride napping. Either before the wedding or during the wedding, the bride is taken by either friends, family, or hired actors.
I
Here's
don't love any of this.
Here's a quote.
See, I was just trying to do a Romanian tradition for you, Amanda, and that is why I hired that actor.
Someone to abduct
to
me.
come try. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
From NBC, quote, every Saturday night, brides from Bucharest and beyond are dragged away in a mock abduction by friends and driven to a top tourist spot where they are held hostage, all the while pouting, dancing, and striking provocative poses for the cameras.
Okay, so they're in on it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
everyone does it, so they know what's
Probably
happening.
not 100 years or hundreds of years ago.
No,
but
this
now-
is, today, this is the description of what happens today.
Mm-hmm.
The ransom is a few bottles of whiskey or perhaps something more romantic, like a public declaration of love from the abandoned groom.
How sweet.
The kidnappers negotiate by phone, working out the details of the payoff.
Oh my God.
It's all harmless theatrics meant to add a whiff of risque fun to the nuptials.
Wow.
These abductions are popular in many countries of the former Soviet Union, but they differ in flamboyance and ransom. Sometimes the groom has to sing or dance or pay actual money to get his bride back.
If you want your bride, get us a drink. If you want your bride, get us a drink. Name that show.
The Office.
Yep.
That was a guess.
That's
'cause-
just what you always quote.
I know. Mose kidnaps Angela on the eve of her wedding
There
to
you go.
Dwight.
There you go.
At my brother-in-law's wedding, all of the groomsmen kidnapped the bride and just took her to the hotel bar for shots.
I just don't love the kidnapping.
I don't love the loss of autonomy.
Yeah.
If there's not like
Yeah.
a strong tradition behind it and it's like everyone
Or
knows
consent.
it's for fun.
Yeah.
I paid a lot of money and planned
Yep.
this wedding.
Yep.
And so I would like to be there to enjoy all the
All of
minutes of it.
Yep. Anyway, that is my segment.
Wow.
Well
How
done.
fun.
Thanks.
All right. So, my case. The original plan for this episode was to record before Amanda's wedding so we could freak her out with stories of everything that could go wrong on the day. But then we got behind in our recording schedule, and so now it is after the wedding, which tragically went perfectly.
Well, we could just compare with what may have gone wrong.
So I decided to pick a case that took place just 8 days after a wedding.
Oh, great.
Oh, we're at 6 days right now.
Thanks.
I know. Just to keep that anxiety running high.
That's what we all need.
Bitch. You're a real bitch.
I'm evil. Okay.
I'm evil.
I'm evil. I don't know. I'm drawn to the hogs.
I saw Goody Proctor with the devil.
I'm drawn to the house. That town's gone to the house.
Okay. On a crisp morning of May 20th, 1947, Severn Falls in Ontario bore witness to a grim discovery. Just 150 feet from a secluded honeymoon cottage, the lifeless body of Christina Kettlewell lay submerged in a mere 9 inches of water.
So
Great.
not fully submerged.
Face down, ass
You can
up.
drown in
9 inches of water.
Doesn't mean you're submerged.
Your face is.
Partially submerged.
There we go.
Christina, a young bank employee from Mimco, Ontario, had only just begun the newest and what should have been the happiest chapter of her life. Just 8 days earlier, Christina had eloped with John Ray Kettlewell, known by his friends as Jack, a 26-year-old war veteran who'd served in the unlikely section of the military, the Dental Corps,
Hot.
which is exactly what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
War
The
dentists.
dental corps.
Yeah.
Hardcore dental core.
Fighting the Nazis one cavity at a time.
Is there an optometrist corps?
Probably.
Cool.
You know, it's important. You got to keep the soldiers fit and fighting ready.
Yeah.
Fighting and biting.
Fighting and biting.
Fighting and biting.
Sure do.
So,
Dental core.
so, though Jack and Christina's courtship spanned 3 years before their wedding, whispers of doubt and concern plagued their friends and family.
Uh-oh. Same.
Christina's father, a Polish immigrant and staunch Roman Catholic, bore reservations about his daughter marrying someone outside their faith.
Ooh. Was he
And-
Baptist?
He was some sort of Christian, not Catholic.
Christian light?
Yep.
And even when Jack took the step to convert to Catholicism, a shadow of discontent lingered, particularly with Christina's sister, Helen.
Oh, uh-oh.
Catholics
Helen-
need to get a life.
Listen.
I say this as a Catholic.
Are you, lapsed?
Former.
Yeah. As
Heavily
a
lapsed.
reformed Catholic.
Pilates reformer Catholic. Helen's apprehensions had less to do with faith and more to do with a very close friend of her new brother-in-law's, the mysterious Ronald Barry.
McDonald.
So Ronald Barry, a 28-year-old Italian immigrant, was originally named Ronnie Ciuffo. Whatever, it gets confusing. We're calling him Ronald.
Got it.
So he's from Italy. In northern Italy, he'd worked as a professional ballroom dancer
I love Ronnie.
before immigrating to Canada. And Ronald shared an unusually close bond with the couple, with Jack and Christina. And Helen speculated that Ronald's feelings for Christina might not be purely platonic, because he was just always hanging around them. So despite lingering murmurs of concern, the newlyweds, Jack and Christina Kettlewell, set off for Toronto immediately after their elopement.
Cute.
But even though this was their honeymoon, their friend Ronald joined them as they traveled.
Sounds like someone else I know.
That was the theme. Your mother joined you for your honeymoon. And also Lucy joined. Or joined Lucy.
You joined sort of.
Lucy.
You abducted me right after my wedding.
That's what I was referring to.
Right.
Very romantic.
So romantic. And right after my wedding, Zach went somewhere and I went back to Joburg with my college friends. So
Bye-bye.
bye.
Later. See you at home.
See you in 2 weeks. So he travels with them a few days later to a remote cottage in Severn Falls. So I guess this wasn't so weird technically because Ronald actually owned the cottage. And so he was essentially lending it to his friends for their honeymoon. But they couldn't.
I'm going to go let you in.
Show you around. Third wheeling. Heavy third wheeling. But they couldn't really get there on their own because it was so secluded.
He had a good excuse.
Right. And the cottage is only accessible by boat. So, like, he really needed to, like, get them there if they were going to use it.
Absolutely not.
But still weird.
It's fucking weird.
But this dreamy honeymoon quickly morphed into a nightmare and an enduring mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
Ooh, I've solved it. I know what happened.
I think I've solved it, but I don't know for sure. So the trio arrives at the cottage and they should be having the time of their lives, boating, drinking.
Threesomes.
Oh my God.
Maybe.
Sounds exhausting.
Well, with
Probably.
his brother, though.
Not his brother. They're just friends.
His buddy.
Oh, I thought it was a brother. I thought it was his brother.
No. They're just friends.
Oh, okay. Threesomes.
Threesomes are back on the table.
In Game of Thrones, they never would have left the table.
Exactly.
Probably not swimming because it's still May in Canada.
Fair.
I don't know. Playing Parcheesi, puzzles. What do you do at a cabin?
But there you go.
Listen to 8 tracks.
Yeah.
Hot dogging,
Play cards.
marshmallow.
Wear whatever hat you want. Kick your feet
Yeah.
up.
But soon, Christina's behavior grew erratic. And this is all according to Ronald and Jack. I just want to flag that.
The men.
So they said that she was acting out of character, going into crying fits and sobbing uncontrollably.
Yeah, probably because her honeymoon got crashed by this fucking level 5 clinger. Jesus.
Maybe.
I'd be fucking crying too.
Amanda, I'm actually in your attic.
Great. It's very hot up there. I don't think you're safe.
At other times, she would appear dazed and like out of it, like something's off. Then she started to have whispered conversations with Ronald whenever Jack was out of earshot, centered on one tormenting question. Did he think that Jack truly loved her?
Okay. Well, these are questions that you want to clear up before the marriage.
Then, on the morning of May 20th, disaster struck. And improbably, it actually struck twice.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So while he was out, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he's on this island where the cabin is, and he's not in the cabin.
And this is the new husband.
Ronald.
Or is this Ronald?
The friend.
Okay.
He's picking huckleberries.
He's
Oh, God.
possibly picking huckleberries. It's the morning. He is out, and the cottage catches fire.
Uh-oh.
When Ronald returns, he found it engulfed in flames, with Jack still sitting inside, bearing a head injury.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ronald got his friend Jack out safely, but Christina was nowhere in sight. It took an hour for the cabin to burn completely to the ground.
Wow, that's quick.
During that time, firefighters from the mainland had arrived. I don't know if there was like a phone at the cabin and they called for help, or people on the mainland just saw the smoke and alerted, firefighters and they came out. I'm not sure. But they arrived. But they struggled to find a water source for their hoses to connect to help control the blaze.
Oh,
Ooh,
shit.
they just had to let it burn.
So they had to like kind of let it burn or like, you know, douse it as they couldn't control it and it burned completely to the ground. But there wasn't like a fire hydrant for them to connect anything to. So Ronald and Jack were taken by boat to the Severn Falls mainland and then took a car to the hospital for Jack's injuries to be treated. Ronald doesn't have a scratch on him. While they were off the island, firefighters are still attempting to control the fire, but they stumble upon Christina's body, just like I said before, 150 feet from the cottage, lying in 9 inches of water.
Partially submerged.
Correct, if we're being entirely accurate.
Which we are.
We always are.
At all times. To their surprise, she had no burns and no visible injuries. So it wasn't like she like stumbled out of the cottage, the cabin, and was disoriented and fell and
like died
drowned.
of smoke inhalation and fell down in this puddle and died. Yeah.
That did not happen. No burns.
Okay.
I don't think they found any like smoke in her lungs or anything like that.
Okay. Mysterious.
An
curious.
autopsy would later reveal the presence of codeine in her stomach.
Hence the weird behavior.
First of all, same.
Wow.
This cold is nuts.
Yeah, Amanda
the Tussin.
paired this episode with codeine.
I pretty much did.
Tussin DM in her stomach. Ultimately, her cause of death was ruled drowning.
Okay.
The ensuing investigation today reads like a film noir.
Ooh.
Over 20 individuals were interrogated by police trying to discern both the cause of the fire and the circumstances surrounding the young bride's death. After he was released from the hospital where he'd been treated for burns, shock, the head injury, and also possibly an apparent drugging, or just either he had been drugged or he chose to also take codeine. I believe they also found codeine in Jack's system.
Robo-Trip, baby. Fucking honeymoon,
life.
cabin life,
Scissor.
boat life, pontoon, scissor. Let's go.
Robo-Trip.
Fucking robo-tripping.
Oh my God, we do
We are
not
not
endorse.
condoning.
Yeah.
Here for it.
So
You honeymoon how you like, honey.
only one of the 3 died. So Jack,
Only the
Hey,
robo-tripper
that's a
died.
66% success rate.
Yeah, honestly, I'll take those odds.
so Jack was interrogated by the police for 3 hours, but his memory was fuzzy. Again, he had a fucking head injury and codeine in his system and was
He was
in
all
shock.
fucked up.
Are we going to learn more about his head injury? Was he like axed or something?
We are not going to learn more about it. Never read anything about any particular weapon being identified.
So they don't know if it was like blunt force trauma or if he had bumped his head, any of that.
I don't know if he bumped his head. I don't know if he fell while he was like trying to get out of the
Scrambling
cabin.
to get out.
I
Okay.
don't know if it was such an advanced stage of burning down that like a beam hit him.
Sure, that could have been it.
Don't know. Don't know if it
All
was
right.
falling debris or he had been attacked prior. Don't know.
Fucking mystery, man.
Yeah. So memory is fuzzy. He tells investigators he doesn't remember anything that happened after 11 a.m. on the day that Christina died and all this happened. It's like, I don't know. I woke up and Ronald was pulling me out of the fire.
Fucking my hero, Ronnie.
So Ronald was questioned by police for 13 hours. While there, he gave investigators a 3,000-word statement.
Essay.
Yeah, a 5-paragraph essay. But this didn't really help answer any questions. In fact, Ronald's statement was so perplexing that police would later describe it as fantastic, as
Sketchy.
in like he's a fantasist, like George
Sure.
Santos level.
Like George S. Martin, whatever. Dragons.
George R.R. Martin.
Right. So on
George S. Martin.
George
I was
Santos
close.
Martin.
George Santos, R.R. Martin. So on June 19th, an official inquest into Christina's death began and was a media sensation. I'm losing my voice after the wedding.
Yeah.
The public crowded the courtroom and the lawn outside. It was like the craziest shit that had ever gone down in Severn Falls.
Mm.
Cool.
Jack Kettlewell and Ronald Berry quickly became celebrities of sorts, and they were often accosted for autographs outside the courtroom.
What year was this again? The 40s?
1947.
Y'all true crime fans are thirsty.
The true crime thing has always been popular. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
It's just taken different forms.
It absolutely has.
This might sound bananas, but at this point, neither man was technically on trial. They were considered the main witnesses at this inquest.
Well, they didn't have enough to charge them with her murder.
They didn't even know it wasn't.
If it was a murder.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the purpose of the inquest was to determine if Christina's death had been the result of foul play or just a tragic accident.
Okay.
Of course, there was also a third possibility.
Ooh.
That Christina had died by suicide.
Okay.
And there was evidence to suggest this might have been the case.
Because Jack didn't love her.
Well, Ronald produced a series of suicide notes, ostensibly penned by Christina, which hinted at her tumultuous state of mind.
That seems convenient for Ronald.
In the end, these sparked more questions than answers. Why hadn't Ronald shared these disturbing letters with Jack at the time?
Yeah.
Jack was like, what fucking suicide notes? Like,
Yikes.
no one told me about any suicide notes. Why were they addressed to Ronald and not to Christina's own husband?
No shit.
I don't like this.
And mainly, why had Ronald thought to retrieve them from the burning cottage in the first place?
Ronald.
No way. Ronald did it.
I knew it.
Ronald wanted Jack to himself. Ronald was in love with Jack. Done.
Love it.
And suspicion grew even thicker when it came to light that Jack had taken out 2 large life insurance policies on himself right before the wedding, double indemnity policies which would allow the beneficiary to collect twice the amount if the cause of death was an accident.
Getting married, you're so busy that it wouldn't even occur to me unless I had a very specific motive to add more to my plate by taking out additional life insurance policies right before my wedding.
They eloped.
I guess.
So it's
but
like
still.
Hey, you want to meet at the courthouse at 4 p.m.? Cool. That's their plan.
I guess. It just seems
standard life insurance is good to have if you're married. And, you know, I'm sure that, like, she had a job, but it's the 40s. I'm sure eventually, you know, the plan was that he would be the breadwinner.
Yeah. And I mean, I already have a policy. I did make Bill my beneficiary right before the wedding. So, like, I get it. It's just, it always weirds me out. Probably because every time we discuss it, it ends in a murder.
Right.
And more of often, it's just a normal thing to do.
Right.
But I'm tainted.
It's pretty standard for married couples to have life insurance policies on each other. It's less standard for the beneficiary to be
Ronald? No way.
Gay. They're
Gay.
lovers.
They are lovers.
Solved.
Peter's gay, Dad. Gay.
I love it. I love this.
This would be a payout of around 200,000 Canadian dollars today.
Listen, I'll fucking take it.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't give for 200 grand Canadian right now.
That could actually just about pay off my student loans. Not Zach's. Ronald, too, had insured his
Look out for
now
yourself, baby.
charred cabin. Although this isn't totally unusual. I mean, people usually do insure their properties.
Right, their property.
But I think the timing and also the amount of the insurance
was
policy was sus. So that was also for 5,000 Canadian dollars, which would have been about $100,000 today.
That's good money.
Yeah.
Another weird coincidence was that in addition to being a ballroom dancer, Ronald
I forgot he's a ballroom dancer.
had a failed career as an insurance salesman.
No
Ronnie.
way. Ron.
Figure.
Ran.
He can meet all your ballroom dancing and life insurance
needs.
He is the total package.
Multifaceted.
Then there was the curious matter of Jack's missing war benefits. So after he was discharged from the dental corps at the end of World War II,
Fine and Biden.
Fatten and Button, Jack had apparently started giving over his pension to his ballroom dancing BFF. Like, why?
Because they're in love,
They're in
Kenyon.
love. They're in love.
Well, that is one theory, but like they could be in love and he can still have his own income.
No, they
they're
wanted to
really
build
in
a
love.
life.
Okay.
They wanted to move to that cabin on a remote island.
Where no one could
just-
interfere with them being gay.
And then fake Jack's death, but then not? Because the life insurance policy is not on Christina.
Listen, love
They
don't
just-
have to make sense.
They just wanted to get Christina out of the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's out of the way.
All right. Okay. Jack also removed everyone else from his will except, you guessed it, his close pal, Ronald Barry. Last but certainly not least was the fact that Christina was found, but curiously, her wedding ring was never recovered.
No way.
The value of the ring was estimated to be between $1,000 and $13,000, which like is a huge range. I don't know why.
Yeah.
they
In the
couldn't-
40s?
unclear. That would be a honking chonker of a ring
Right,
in the 40s.
right.
So maybe
It'd be a pretty honking chonker now.
yeah.
13 grand. That's a lot in today's money.
That's gotta be converted to today's money. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way.
But also, like, you
Still a
couldn't
lot.
figure out whether it was 1,000 or 13 grand.
Well, they couldn't
Listen.
find it.
Yeah, they're busy.
No one remembered.
I don't know.
No one remembered they eloped.
God.
But perhaps the biggest red flag of all wasn't how close Christina and Ronald were, but rather Ronald's close relationship with Jack.
Yep.
And even at the time, this aspect of the case proved very interesting to the voracious news-reading public.
Me.
Yay!
Me.
A police report came out that said that Christina was very upset about the, quote, unnatural conduct of her husband and Ronald Barry. But again,
Unnatural.
unnatural. This is a police report, so take everything with a grain of salt. But
Yes.
this came from the statement Jack had made to the police, admitting that he and Ronald were in an intimate relationship for some time.
Knew it.
Yes.
But later, when he was asked about it in court at the inquest, Jack said that he had been coerced to make that statement. Again, he was still in shock. He was reeling from the head injury. His wife had just died. And he said that the police made him say that and that it wasn't true and there was no evidence of that.
Okay.
But
I mean, the police make people do dumb shit all the time.
True.
Who knows?
But I still think
I still think they were lovers.
lovers.
ultimately, though, despite all the suspicious circumstantial evidence, the jury at the inquest could not reach a verdict on whether foul play was to blame. The jury's statement read in part, quote, due to the fact that the post-mortem examination disclosed codeine in the stomach of the deceased, and due to the suspicious fact that she was found drowned, this jury is unable to decide on the evidence given whether or not foul means were employed in her death.
I don't know. I think the missing ring is a pretty big indicator of
But
foul
maybe
play.
she was upset and she
Took it off
Chucked
through
it in the
woods.
lake. That was
Yeah.
my first thought.
Maybe.
He doesn't love me.
Found
My
out that
husband's
they
gay.
were together.
Yep.
She's very upset. She drinks a bunch of cough medicine, chucks her ring
She
in the lake,
robo-trips. She chucks the
wanders
ring.
off into the woods, knocks the lantern over on her way out of the cabin.
Punches it over.
She gets disoriented in the woods because she's just a woman. She's probably on her period.
Yep. She's bleeding out of her eyes.
And
Out of her
vagina,
wherever.
right
and passes out
in a puddle.
in a puddle and dies.
Yeah. Her husband could be
plausible.
gay and it could have been an accident.
True.
Yep.
True. It could be either or. It could be neither. It could be both.
Interesting.
It's at least one of those things.
So what happened? Oh, we are left with our theories.
Mine.
Most of which we've gone over in detail.
I just solved it.
The most likely one, I think, is that Christina died by suicide or accident after a struggle with mental illness, exacerbated by the fact that she caught her new husband and love of her life banging Ronnie.
Ronald McDonald.
So,
She probably could have joined. Then everyone would have been happy.
well, it was
Oh my
1947.
Yeah.
Jack, according to this theory, Jack married Christina to be his beard, but she was a loose cannon. She figured out what the fuck was going on and went pretty understandably a little cuckoo bananas, flipped
Poor
out.
thing.
In this theory, Christina took the codeine herself, possibly also administered some to Jack so that he would be passed out during the blaze and not be able to escape
Oh,
So
sure.
she burned down the cabin.
before...
She did it.
This is a theory. Before intentionally lighting the fire and leaving the cabin, but she was so out of it that she drowned in a shallow puddle.
And Ron just happened to be out picking huckleberries
Coulda
because
been.
morning's prime huckleberry time.
That's one theory. Or Ronald was a big con man. And he drugged them both and got her all amped up and wild and had her write crazy shit while on codeine. Got in her head. And he was trying to kill them both and get the life insurance money.
I could see that.
Like a Bravo producer.
Both plausible.
Right?
Both plausible. Yeah. These both have legs. They hold water. 9 inches of water. They hold it.
So the biggest piece of evidence for the suicide theory are the suicide notes, obviously, which are in her handwriting.
Okay.
The first note was written on Easter Sunday, which was April 6th of that year.
Were they at the cabin? Were they married?
They were not
No,
married
they
yet,
weren't married
and
yet,
they were not
yeah.
at the cabin yet.
Oh. So
But
she was
he's-
troubled from...
But he had it was
Labeled as being from April 6th,
Right.
but it could have been written anytime.
and Ronald had it on his person.
yeah,
at the
which is
cabin.
sus.
That's still really odd. Yeah.
It's odd.
It was addressed to Ronald, and in it, Christina says that she tried to poison herself and was uncertain about Jack's proposal. She said that the poison might be the best way out because she couldn't bear to see him, quote, with another woman, end quote. Another note was from the end of April, so still before they're married. So he's proposed, but they haven't eloped yet. It was also addressed to Ronald, and in this one, she wrote about her intent to kill herself and kill Jack, saying, quote, when you love someone, you really love him, and I know there is no one for me but Jack, and if I cannot have him, I do not intend anyone else to. I waited, as you might say, in the hope that Jack would ask me to marry him, but now I realize I am just a passing fancy, which is odd because they'd been together for 3 years and he'd literally just proposed.
Right. Don't make no sense.
Christina wrote her last note on the day she died, or that's what it was, labeled.
Addressed or labeled, yeah.
Purported to be.
But this one was addressed to a Mrs. Thomas, who was like their landlord in Mimco, where Jack and Christina were renting a house.
Weird.
Mrs. Thomas never received the letter because Christina had just given it to Ronald to mail. So maybe that's why he was out of the cabin. But then he never actually sent it, so probably not.
Okay.
The letter said, quote, Ronnie is in the boat outside somewhere. By the time he gets back, everything will be all over with. He must have been afraid something would happen because he is staying an extra day to make sure we go back to Toronto with him.
Oh.
I think he wrote these.
I
This
think he
is
dictated
way
these
too specific.
because that is way
Yeah.
too specific and sus. And why would her whole note be about Ronnie?
Him when she's
And giving
allegedly
him this
lamenting
alibi.
Right, and allegedly lamenting the wandering eye of her new husband. It has nothing to do with Ronnie.
Also,
And,
the earlier
allegedly.
letters specifically mention another woman to draw suspicion away from Ronald.
Yes.
Yeah, this is sus. Yep. I think she was forced to write these.
Or he wrote them.
Well, it's her handwriting.
I believe so.
I don't know if it's that hard to fake a woman's handwriting. All women had the same handwriting back then.
Oh my God.
I'm not wrong. I mean, very standardized.
It was more standardized. I don't know. Don't know. I don't know.
Either way, these read as falsified to me.
I don't think that your last letter that you'd ever write would be lining
Ron's
up.
in a boat. He's been away for hours. He's nowhere near here.
The reason he came was this.
Yeah. This
all
totally
makes
normal.
sense.
All of this tracks. Don't look into Ron. Ron's a great guy.
He's a man. I'm worried about a woman.
It's nothing to do with Ron. Oh my God.
He's a swell guy.
So swell.
So swell.
So
So they couldn't determine if it was foul play. It was unsolved. There was never a trial. There was just this inquest. They both just moved on.
This is some bullshit.
3 years later, Jack Kettlewell remarried a woman
Oh.
and raised a family in the very home that he'd once shared with Christina.
No.
That's weird.
Get a new home.
Hate that. You're
really
renting.
hate that.
Yeah, really, you're renting.
Oh my God, I forgot. That makes it so much more egregious.
You're renting.
Get a U-Haul truck. It's like $19 an hour. Just shell out.
No
Canadian.
excuse. No excuse.
Later, Jack moved his family to a home across the street, and his son, Richard, with his second wife, still lives in that house. Fun fact. I don't know if Jack remained very close friends
Roommates.
with Ronald.
Special friends.
Longtime roommates.
Special friends. But the tale of the 8-day bride remains drenched in speculation to this day.
Partially
Wow.
submerged.
Partially submerged in speculation.
That is my case.
Oh, I
That's
like that.
curious. That's really curious. I think we solved it though.
Well, we solved it in two different directions.
Ronald did it. The second theory is way more likely to me.
Two very different
We
directions.
solved it.
No, it was rad.
both.
It was rad.
It was a murder-suicide accident. Ronald
Right.
did it. Christina did
It was one or the other or both. We've solved
Yeah.
it.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Mostly bees.
Mostly bees.
Well done.
Good job.
Loved it. Well, I'll get back to you in what?
2 more days.
4 more days? 2 more days. I don't even know what fucking day it is.
Call
We are
call
headed
us
to,
in 3 days to make sure you're.
Well, we're headed to Lucy's remote cabin, and Lucy's coming with, so it's starting to look a little weird.
We are special friends.
Yeah. You and Bill are very
Bring
close.
your stamps. There's
Me
going to be
and
lots
you.
of letter writing.
Oh, my God.
And your Tussin DM.
We're going to do a letter writing workshop.
We're gonna Robo-Trip and write some letters.
That
Love.
actually sounds like
Really fun.
wonderful vacation.
Can we do that?
There's not a lot to do at the cabin. We might as
Taking
well
a
but I
boat to
love
a
writing
remote
letters.
cabin,
get fucked up and write some
drinking
letters.
scissor, and writing letters.
I love this.
Not the
I
rest of it,
love
but
this.
that
No.
sounds fun.
Just that part.
Just that part.
Okay.
Honeymoon planned. Are you ready for my much more tragic, although every death is tragic or whatever, but like way sadder case?
Yeah.
I guess. We have
Here
to
we
be.
go. In 1999, Gladys Ricart was a 39-year-old single mother of 2 living in New Jersey, building a modest but beautiful life for herself. She immigrated to the United States as a child from the Dominican Republic, attended school in the States, and worked in an accounting job that she loved for a local travel agency. Despite her happiness, she obviously did struggle. She was a full-time working parent. It's not easy.
No, I can't. It's so hard.
No. And she was grateful for the seemingly abundant, loving support she found in her boyfriend, fellow Dominican immigrant Augustine Garcia, when they met in early 1991. Augustine had done very well in the United States and had made it as a successful businessman in New York. And there were like all these articles about him as being like basically the American dream.
Okay.
Like this wealthy businessman who immigrated to the United States.
My alarm bells are going off.
He may have achieved much, but he was by no means a good man.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So they quickly fell in love after meeting, but their relationship was not a fairy tale. Gladys, a truly dazzling beauty, like Selena gorgeous.
Looking at. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Was wooed by very successful Augustine. This is a quote from the New York Times. Quote, Augustine Garcia was the American dream incarnate, with his sharply tailored suits and his black Jeep Cherokee.
It was the 90s.
His 99 or whatever. Mr. Garcia
Everyone
was
had a
proof
black
of...
Jeep Cherokee.
It's so true. Mr. Garcia was proof to other Dominicans in Washington Heights that hard work and education had their rewards. A single father himself, successful businessman, and president of a local chamber of commerce, he also ran a daycare center and a vocational school whose graduates were lauded each year in a ceremony at the Hilton in Midtown. Mr. Garcia was a darling of the Spanish language press, frequently photographed with mayors and congressmen, and in 1996, as Grand Marshal of the Dominican Day Parade, he gloried in the cheers of thousands.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, he was a big deal. Both allies and rivals said it was hard not to be impressed. Quote, when I first met Augustine, I thought, finally, we have a first-class guy who can lead the Dominican community, said Eligio Pena, president of the National Supermarket Association. So like one of the business people in the area.
Chamber of Commerce Association. Right.
He was smart, articulate, and full of great ideas. He swept Gladys off her feet with grand gestures and a lavish lifestyle. He took her to high-profile events like political fundraisers at the Waldorf Astoria, receptions at Gracie Mansion, and a cruise to the Bahamas.
I've peed at the Waldorf Astoria.
Same.
Wow.
When he was Grand Marshal of the Dominican Parade, she was at his side. Quote, I always assumed they were married because he called her his wife, said Placido Rodriguez, president of the Dominico-American Travel Agencies and longtime friend of Augustine. They always seemed happy together. Though he was a beloved community member, he was a jealous partner, despite Gladys being faithful to him. And he constantly, cheated on her.
So he was possessive
cheated
and
on her.
controlling and suspicious and accusatory, and really he is the one doing all the shit.
Classic.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the love bombing at first.
Yep. Throughout their 7-year relationship, he often accused her of cheating and was verbally and physically abusive toward her, even holding a gun to her and threatening her life on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
In order to protect herself and her children, Gladys ended the relationship and moved on with her life.
Which was
now-
very difficult,
Brave.
I'm sure, to do because he had all the power.
Yes. And we'll kind of get to it, while there were incidents that ended in police interaction, so there were incidents on the record, she had not filed a restraining order, and that's not like a victim blaming thing. It's just a fact in this case.
And they don't.
So there was
it's good to have documentation, but it's not
Of
a
course.
magical shield either. So
no.
Super not.
yeah.
No, and like I said, there was documentation of patterns
Right.
of his behavior,
But not everything
because the
was
police had been called
documented
to their
because
home.
it almost never is.
Exactly. So she breaks up with him. She really soon after actually meets a lovely man, 36-year-old James Preston Jr. They have a little meet cute. They're both getting lunch at the same place near her office in the Flatiron district. He was also an accountant. He worked right across the street, but the two had somehow never met until this day at lunch.
That's cute. That's really
It's
cute.
so cute. So they meet at this lunch spot and then decide to have lunch again together a couple days later. And she's elated. And her friends are saying, like, I remember her saying, I'm going to marry this guy. He's so awesome. Like, she was smitten.
Oh my God. Can we just end the story here?
I
Can
know.
this be the end of the story?
I know.
It's not.
It's super not. So they started dating, and within a couple months, they get engaged. And about 9 months later, they were like preparing to throw a lovely family ceremony that would take place mostly at their home, but then they'd actually get married at a small church nearby.
And she didn't need to like get a divorce because she was never
was
married
never married.
to Augustine.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
So this wedding picture is of her of that James.
Correct. Of her wedding to James.
She's so pretty.
I know, she's gorgeous. Augustine, however, had continued to stalk and harass Gladys this entire time. So again, from the New York Times, quote, Mr. Garcia kept calling Miss Ricard at work and at home, begging for another chance. With time, he became more insistent. Anne Marie Lorino, 19 years old, Miss Ricard's niece, said Mr. Garcia tried to break into Ms. Ricard's house in late last August, so in like 1999. A few weeks later, he came again while Mr. Preston was there, her new fiance, and banged on the doors and windows. And when Miss Ricard refused to let him in, he just like kept banging and banging and banging, and they called the police.
Yeah,
Jesus.
good, because that's psycho behavior and it's escalating and it's really fucking scary.
Really scary. Ms. Ricard declined to press charges. James Santulli, Bergen County's assistant chief prosecutor, said the police had confirmed the prior outbursts by Mr. Garcia, but said he could not discuss them for legal reasons. So, like, this was an ongoing case at this time. Yes, we have other reports. I can't tell you the details of that.
Right. But this is a pattern.
Yep. As his frustration, Mr. Garcia's frustration, grew, Mr. Garcia became increasingly creative and vengeful. Ms. Ricard's colleague said Mr. Martel said the company tried to intervene on Ms. Ricard's behalf. So, like, her boss is even like, we're going to try to step in here because he's showing up at work. Like, he's harassing you at your job.
Which is great that her bosses realized that was not her fault and tried to protect her, because a lot of abusers will purposely interrupt and mess up their victims' work situation in order to make them more beholden to them.
Yup.
Or just out of revenge.
And Garcia, had gone to Gladys's son's college, like sent letters to his college saying that Gladys had put false information about her employment on his financial aid forms.
Come
Oh my
on.
God. So just
so
really
the-
trying to fuck up her whole life.
Yes.
And
And so the
life.
boss was like, we have your back. We know this is bullshit. Like, they had to intervene anyway
Right.
because her son was looking at possibly getting pulled from his financial aid
kicked out of school.
and kicked out of school.
Wow.
Yep. On one occasion, he said Mr. Garcia left roses on her lawn, and a few days later, she awoke to find a Bible at her doorstep.
No.
No.
Yep.
Don't like that.
And poor Gladys, her boss, reported saying that she specifically told him, if one day I don't show up here, he's the one who did it, which
my
is
God.
just
and it's so
heartbreaking.
Like, we hear that
Happens
in
all
so
the
many of
time.
these stories, like these
All the
these
time.
people, these mostly
They
women
know.
They
know
know.
what's coming, and this and our society does not
Protect
fucking
them.
do enough to protect them.
Ugh.
No. And Gladys had a huge heart. She genuinely cared about Augustine's well-being. I mean, they were together for 7 years. They were both single parents. They raised their children
She just doesn't
together.
want him to be a psycho stalker,
And
abuser.
she
piece
just
of
wants him to
shit.
leave her the fuck alone and move on with his
She's
life.
not messing up his life.
No. And with her wedding approaching, she had agreed to meet with him to provide some closure a few days before the wedding. The two were seen at a nearby cafe on CCTV camera, and in the footage, Gladys appeared visibly afraid to be in his presence, even in a public space.
If someone makes you feel like that, you don't owe them shit.
Shit. Yeah,
you don't
no.
owe them closure. You don't.
You don't owe them shit. And I also get
Not blaming her. I'm trying to
No.
say for people listening.
I imagine, and obviously I'm speculating wildly, but I imagine she felt that if she kind of met him halfway, he would calm down.
A lot of victims
and that maybe
of-
by ignoring him, it would make it worse.
A lot of victims of abuse have been in a relationship with their abuser, and there's been these patterns of abuse, and they have learned to,
How
for
to
better
handle
or
it,
for
kinda.
worse, manage them and
Right.
handle them as best they can. And so
Exactly.
that then continues after they leave the relationship.
Yeah, I really think she was just doing her best to protect herself.
Right. She
And
was making
she
really
thought-
tough choices trying to
Yep.
make all of this stop.
Yeah, and she thought that, I'm going to hear him out would maybe...
Just trying to be safe. It's a public space.
Yep.
But still, I'm just saying, like, for anyone listening, like, we get emails all the time from people who have, left abusive relationships or are realizing that they're in abusive relationships. And if somebody makes you feel afraid, even once and even for a moment, you've got to listen to that, and you don't have to.
You
don't
don't
know
know
them
those shit. So she meets up with him at the cafe. She lets him know she's not gonna get back together with him. She's moved on. She's getting ready to get married. I want you to move on. I wish you the best. And she leaves the cafe. Loved ones later recall how he had threatened her, saying, quote, he couldn't accept rejection. He threatened her with a gun. I don't think he necessarily had the gun on him, but was like,
I have a gun.
Shoot you.
I have a gun. And said, if you're not with me, you won't be with anybody else. So on September 26th, 1999, Gladys was at the home she shared with her fiance, James, getting all dolled up for her wedding with her family and her 9 bridesmaids. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Augustine Garcia entered her home in Ridgefield, New Jersey, as she was posing for the last of her wedding photos before heading to the church in Flushing, Queens to get married.
You are
God.
fucking kidding. No.
Nope. You said Red Wedding.
I know. I always forget the theme when we're halfway through your case, and then it always hits me.
Amanda does
Roll
a
hard.
jump scare in her cases.
Yeah. He claimed to be there to offer his well wishes to the bride, and despite her family's unease about his presence, they let him in full view of a snapping photographer and a friend recording on a handheld video camera.
No.
There's full footage of this entire event.
Ooh.
I didn't watch any of it, obviously, but like if you're depraved and on the internet, you can access it. Augustine entered the living room where Gladys was being photographed, took a Smith & Wesson revolver out of the briefcase he was carrying, and shot Gladys 3 times, killing her. She literally died in the arms of her own mother while still wearing her wedding gown,
Stop.
surrounded by her family and friends, and the entire attack was caught on videotape.
God.
Yeah.
What an absolute fucking psychopath.
Piece of shit. Augustine was bravely tackled by Gladys's brother Juan while he was like trying to reload his gun. Apparently,
he
he
had
had
a
like
gun
6
to
more
shoot the
bullets in his
rest of 'em.
pocket. Yep. So he would have kept shooting, but Juan tackled him, wrestled the gun out of his hand, and held him in place until the police arrived within the next like 10 minutes.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable act of bravery.
God.
And definitely Juan saved people's lives that
Yeah.
day. So he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, and he wouldn't see a courtroom until 2002, but when he did, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison for the murder.
It was on tape and photographed.
Yeah. About a week after her murder, Gladys was returned to the Dominican Republic, where she was buried in her hometown of Tamboril, dressed in her blood-stained wedding gown.
Oh my God.
Which, like, the drama. I'm here for it.
Whoa.
That is.
I mean, I want to be buried in my just stained wedding gown.
Your
is-
So I get
cake-stained
it.
wedding gown.
that is.
So stained.
That's also just like a big fuck you to this guy. Like, you know
Yup.
what?
I was never yours,
Yeah.
and even in eternal life in the beyond, I'll
love
never be
James,
fucking
and I was
yours.
marrying James.
So fuck you.
I went to a funeral of someone a little bit older than us, but like essentially our age, and she got buried in a wedding dress.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't married or engaged. She just like had a wedding dress. That's
You're
what they buried her
joking.
in. Mm-mm. It was.
I need what?
To know who it was.
I'll tell you more off the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need those details because I'm living for that. This is, mark my words, this is what I want.
Okay.
I don't.
You did have a very nice dress. I'll make sure you get buried in your wedding dress.
I believe you will. I'm going to need a really big casket because it's a lot of skirt.
A lot of tulle.
I want to get married in Amanda's wedding train. Just the train over my nude body.
Perfect.
The person who did it makes dusters.
Yeah.
I just want a
get
house
duster.
robe.
Terrence Williams Designs, y'all.
All right. While you finish your case, I'm going to cheer myself up by looking at
Do some shopping.
their amazing designs.
Send me the link.
Yeah. So the media coverage of this event, despite the story's very dramatic nature, like literally a stunningly beautiful bride killed on her wedding day by a jealous lover, all caught on camera.
God.
Like you'd think it would be an absolute frenzy. But even today, as I tried to research this case, there were very few articles of substance. There's one article in the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones I did find, even the New York Times article, which, okay, yeah, the New York Times is a reputable resource, but this was written in the 90s. And it was like dripping with Augustine's achievement.
It's misogyny and racism.
Yes. And had so little, there was so little out there about Gladys and who she was as a person and like everything she had going for her. Mm-hmm. And yet the list of what Augustine had done.
And like she was an accountant and she raised her kids and her kid was going to college and she, was from an immigrant family and
a beautiful life and
relatives
contributed to society
people
in
who
beautiful
loved her.
ways. But he fucking was grand marshal of a parade, so we're gonna have the first
and that's somehow more important
3/4
than
of
being
this
a
article
parent.
be about that. Yeah, I mean, it was so sad to research this. Really, truly fucking sad. Some people, however, did seem to see through Augustine's grandiose exterior. Quote, when he shook your hand, he tried to squeeze it to the bone, letting you know that he was powerful, that he was important, strong, and dominant,
Hate that.
said Moises Perez, executive director of Alianza Dominicana, a social service organization. In retrospect, it was a reflection of low self-esteem, which is very true. Mm-hmm. Spot on analysis. Mm-hmm. Another individual came forward, a prominent Dominican businessman named Fernando Mateo, and said that when he was unable to attend an awards ceremony sponsored by Augustine Garcia's Dominican Chamber of Commerce, Augustine angrily withdrew the honor from Fernando Mateo, saying he no longer deserved it.
Yeah, so he was a reactionary piece of shit.
Yeah.
What
He said, quote, I found him very impulsive and very strange. I thought of him as someone who wanted to have power, and if he didn't have it, it would aggravate and frustrate him tremendously. And that's it in a nutshell. That's like what all of this
That's
is.
an abuser. They just want to control.
Yeah, power and control.
And they
Sounds like
keep
Donald
it
Trump.
together in their
Yep.
in their professional lives, but then every once in a while there'll be a glimpse.
Yeah. Well, and this is just like the abuser's playbook. On the surface and on paper, oh, he's such a great guy. Look at all he's done. There's no way he could be doing this behind the scenes. We don't believe you. And then he fucking killed her. In response to the accolades Augustine was still given in the press, even after brutally murdering Gladys, women, specifically Dominican immigrants and intimate partner violence advocates and victims, felt that Gladys was not given a voice and wanted to tell her story and shed light on the danger of intimate partner violence that is so often ignored and swept under the rug. So, on September 26, 2001, on the second anniversary of Gladys's murder, this is fucking badass. A brave young woman took it upon herself to make a statement, and she started the Bride March. The idea for the march was originated by Josie Ashton, a young Dominican woman from Florida, who is moved by the murder and outraged at the media and community's insensitive response or lack thereof to Gladys's murder. Josie resigned from her job and sacrificed months of her life being away from her family to walk in a wedding gown through several states from New York, from where this happened, down the East Coast to end up back in her home state of Florida. All in an attempt to draw attention to the horrors of intimate partner violence and like honor her memory.
Badass.
I love that.
Several organizations in New York City, including the Dominican Women's Development Center, the Violence Intervention Program, the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, the Dominican Women's Caucus, and the National Latino Alliance for the Elimination of Domestic Violence, helped Josie organize the first march, which served as a send-off for her 1,600-mile journey. She walked in a wedding gown to honor her memory and raise awareness for what was going on here.
So fucking cool.
They organized supporters in the New York metropolitan area, including family and friends of Gladys, to join Josie on the first leg of her walk from Gladys's home in New Jersey to the church in Queens where Gladys was to marry on that fateful September day.
Oh my God.
To date, thousands of people, including members of the Ricard family and other families affected by domestic violence, as well as elected officials, civic leaders, clergy, students, intimate partner violence advocates, and survivors, they gather on September 26th, rain or shine, to honor Gladys, often in wedding gowns.
Oh my God.
And also the many other victims who have also lost their lives to intimate partner violence, and just raise awareness. And marches have also taken place in like Miami, Florida, Lawrence, Massachusetts, Newburgh, New York, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In 2003, fucking Salma Hayek, in collaboration with Marie Claire magazine, held a march in Washington, D.C. for Gladys. In 2005, actor, author, and child survivor of domestic violence, Victor Rivers, participated in the New York City march. So like this has become, I don't know if it's still happening post-COVID and in 2023, but this was like a big deal.
I love that. That's
for many
great
years.
Organizing, because it really does draw the eye and attention. It gets the press out there because they know that they can get photographs.
But also, it struck me that I had never heard of this.
I know.
I'd never heard of this march.
Or this.
I'd never heard of
this
this story. And it's just like, I think that speaks volumes to how much we silence, specifically women and especially women of color, in the media, and do not feature these stories, even after you get the fucking notice of Salma fucking Hayek getting in a wedding gown in Washington, D.C. And I still was like, holy shit, I had no idea this event existed, and I'd never heard this story before.
I've heard of the march, but I didn't know that this was the impetus of it. This is so alarming.
Isn't that unfucking
September
believable?
26th is basically a month from now. I mean, people can do it.
I have a gown.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. So
Amanda will take
that's
any excuse to get back in her wedding gown.
Honestly, even a macabre excuse, I will take it.
No, but this is
But
amazing
that's my
organizing.
case.
Wow, well done.
Yeah.
Nice work. Also,
It's wild, right?
God.
Super sad.
So fucking sad. Fuck
I know.
that guy.
I know. Well, somebody has to bring the pain, me, to this podcast.
All right. Well, on that note,
I gotta take a nap.
Wait, did he go to? Oh yeah, life in prison.
Yep,
Okay.
he life in prison, and he's still in prison. I don't think he even will ever face the parole board.
fuck that guy.
He's done. The death penalty was even on the table for him, but they didn't go there. He's not
getting
out. He will die in prison. Yeah. He will die in prison.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. As well he should.
Yeah, fuck him.
Well, good work. I gotta say, I liked Kenyon's case a little bit better.
Fair enough.
But Amanda followed the assignment.
Important.
Listen, we crushed her.
Kenyon's assignment is to go watch Game of Thrones.
I'm gonna go eat a breakfast burrito and maybe take a
Yum.
nap. Okay, bye.
See you
Love
next
ya.
week.
Bye-bye.